One of the most remarkable and troubling moments in the years-long Russia saga occurred, you may remember, when the former Deputy FBI Director Andy McCabe claimed that Deputy AG Rod Rosenstein had offered to wear a wire to spy on the president. Now, at the time, Rosenstein denied it. Today, though, Judicial Watch announced it had obtained a two-page memo from May of 2017 in which McCabe records Rosenstein making that offer. According to the memo, Rosenstein thought he could sneak a wire in because he was not searched when visiting the White House. Matthew Whitaker was acting Attorney General under President Trump, and he joins us now. Mr. Whitaker, thanks very much for coming on. What do you make of this report?
Well, the memo in and of itself is extraordinary because it captures a moment in time between the firing of Jim Comey and the appointment of the special counsel, and it really to some extent lays out the entire conversations that Andy McCabe, as acting FBI director, had with Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein and others. And I just think it's extraordinary that they were having a discussion, whether or not it was a joke, as I've heard Rosenstein allege, of wearing a wire into the White House, into the Oval Office, and recording the president. I can't imagine under what circumstance that conversation would have come up and would have been had between those two people.
So, I mean, you've worked at this level of government for a long time. Assess the likelihood that it was, quote, a joke.
Well, so at the time, I was the chief of staff when Rosenstein issued that extraordinary statement, and then another statement on top of that when the first one wasn't received well, and the story was covered by many, and it was obviously the only explanation that he could have stayed in that role. If it had been a serious consideration of wearing a wire in the Oval Office, then obviously the president couldn't have the trust and confidence in Rod, so he had to explain it as being a joke and saying that as a facetious matter. I don't know. I know there were others in that same meeting that also took copious notes. I would expect that since Tom Fitton and his group do such a good job that we will see those contemporaneous notes as well, because I think we're far from over. But the prosecutor in me wants to corroborate this story, and Andy McCabe at the time had a lot of reasons to write down historically inaccurate accounts because he had just put the president into this investigation as a target.
So I guess the obvious question is, do you think, and you know him, Rod Rosenstein is capable of that?
I don't, I worked side by side with Rod as Deputy Attorney General when I was acting Attorney General. I also worked with him when I was Chief of Staff. I would be surprised if he had honestly said that he would wear a wire. But at the same time, if you read that memo, it's very clear that Andy McCabe didn't think Rod was joking. And I would like to see what others in the room thought, because I was not in the room at the time. And I think it is something that I just think is so extraordinary to even be talking about wearing a wire, whether you're joking or not, that I think we need a few more witnesses to that conversation to actually know whether Rod was joking or not. But it's just extraordinary.
I think so too. Matthew Whitaker, thanks so much for that.